After the tone, please state your name, followed by the pound sign.
A Canadian trademark database that was released today. So there's new features that are related to the legislative changes that were implemented on June 17. There's also improvements that Manon will demonstrate, and then we'll do the search, the new search syntax search for the solar engine.
Okay, thanks, Guillaume.
Thank you, Manon.
Okay, so welcome everyone. So we've gone through this type of presentation before. Very simple. We'll hold off on any questions at the end until the end, but feel free to add, as Guillaume mentioned, any questions you have in the chat. We will address at the end as we go through all the questions and answer period. So as you know, we had a new legislation come into force on June 17th. Which then required us to make some updates to the online database in order to permit new search functionalities for, international registration types, as well as multi-type trademarks. So the main portions of the different types of trademarks in which you can search for, international registration numbers, as well as the addition of some new columns, as well as, now that we have representations, multiple representations for a particular trademark is possible, as well as video, motion, as well as new statuses and so on. We also have some additional items that we've done, we've had to remove associated marks representation for representative for service, as that concept no longer exists, as well as some modifications to the trademark details page. So I'm just going to jump right into it and start talking about how some of the new functionality and sort of the look and feel. So when you go onto the trademarks database, the first page is very similar to what we currently have, but we also have here obviously some different types of trademarks that you can search for. You can add multi-types and so on. To be honest, I don't know all the combinations that are possible given I don't specialize in exam, but more on the IT side. The action dates function is the same, except there's some additional actions that you can search for. So international registration date, registration expiry date. So those are new. But also Vienna classification, as well as display results options, very similar to what it was before. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a general search. So I'm going to search for everything. If there's a lag in the screen, I apologize. I'm hoping it's okay on your side. So I'm just doing a basic, straightforward search of searching everything that we have in the database, not refining it in any form.
So I know right away we can notice that the performance of the search is really, really fast.
Yes, comparatively, it's much faster than it was previously with our previous search engine. So searching all, obviously, it's come back with over 1 million hits, and it's come back fairly quickly. So you'll see here we have different columns. So application number, IR number, trademark, and then the types. So if there's more than one type, it would be listed here. So we have Word, as it was pre-CIS, design, and so on. So we'll go through the different types after. I have also the status. So if you want to filter your results, you can do so by clicking, typing in here, for example, if I want to see, a particular status through this, not sure why this random guy is there, but that's okay. But I can search for the formalized ones and put them at the forefront of my search, just by sort of knowing the status that I want to include here. Okay. So as I remove it, it'll just, wow, it's really lagging over there. It'll remove it, and then now I'm back to searching all of my items. I have a niece class here. If I want to expand, I can just click the 3 little buttons at the end, as well as any representations I have here would be listed here. I can also still change the view to be as a sort of a, I guess, the box view here. And then that hasn't changed. I think that's the same as what it was. Okay. So I'll go back to my list display. So now, so I wanted to, in particular, highlight some items here. You'll see we have a display where it's the view, but also all application types, international, so basically any application that has an international registration number, as well as national, which would be the non-international ones. So I click international, and I should, here I have, in my IR column, you'll see all of the ones that have international registrations. Here I have, obviously, if it's submitted in color, the design or representation will be viewable in color as well. If I click on international registration number, so it'll tell me you'll be redirected to the Madrid Monitor website to see the details of the international registration, okay? So if I click OK, I do get redirected to the WIPO website, in which I can then view all the details of that international registration, okay? So as you see here, summary by office. I'm not going to go into details about what's all in here, but it's just to show you that we can get there from our website. Okay. So then I go back to our website here. And if I want to just show you the trademark details of a regular, sort of the new trademark details page, my apologies. Just going to select something different, 5G. So what I've done is I want to see the trademark details of this particular application. So as I click that, you'll see now the layout is quite different than it was before. So I have, if there's any disclaimer text, I have now the details, which is my images here, as well as any Vienna information, if there's a color claim, any goods and services. So now they've all been moved to one page. I think that was a pain point that existed before, where there was a few tabs that you had to go into, and now we've re-amalgamated everything under one tab. So here on the left-hand side, you'll see in the details the application number, if there's an international registration number, the type, category, status, the date it was filed, international registration, as well as the applicant details. And if there was an agent on this file, then you'd have the agent details. Okay. So at the end here, there's the claims. If there are claims that were submitted prior to the coming into force, which are now claims that we no longer sort of accept, they will still exist on the file for historical purposes. So you will still see them. They will be viewable under the claims section. So we have not deleted any of them, okay? So then here you have at the end as well your action history, which is the same as what was in the action history tab, but now you have it here. You'll notice some sort of new actions, so international registration, designation, notification, Madrid protocol, and so on. So those will be in the help of our online database. Okay. So that's an example just to show you the details page. I can also, from here, as you noticed in the search results, I had many results because I did just a generic search. But if I was to even narrow my search and I'm on the details page, I can either go back to my results here, or I can go to the previous results because it wasn't the first one that I selected from the list. I can also just go to the next results directly from here. So by clicking next results, it'll just bring me to the next result that was in the search results that we had in the previous screen. So here I have road surf, and then so on and so forth. I could just continue on. I can print and so on. So yeah, so here I have, just to kind of give you that sense. So now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to do a search for multi-type trademarks. So here I'm back on my main page, which, I don't know why it does that, but okay. So So if I want to search, so I've taken the time to look for a multi-type mark myself before the session. Okay, maybe that's not the right number. 388. 1, 5, 7. I'll try this one. 133. Okay. For some reason, there's no result. I'm going to clear my search. Okay, here we go. So here I have, I know that this is a multi-type mark. So what I've done is specifically entered my number. I've gone here in the search results. You can see trademark, hopper design. It's a design mark as well as a motion mark. It's in a pre-formalized status. There's no niche class that's been submitted with this mark. I can see the visual representation. Now these are in no particular order when they're shown in the representation of the mark. But if I want to see all of the representations, I would just click the display all, which would then bring me to my details page. And you can see here I have one of two items. When I click through, I can see this is my motion representation number 1. If I click it, then you can see that the motion, you'll be able to see the motion appear or function. Also, you can see it as quickly as I can see it on my screen. All right. So then again, any details for that mark. So here in this case, I have an agent on the file. Okay. So that's a nice little feature to be able to see the multiple types of representations. I will now do a search for, in particular, just want to show you a color mark. So here I have a color mark in particular. Here's my representation. How the person would like to refer to their mark is here. So yeah, it's pretty much the gist of a color mark. The other item that I wanted to show in particular was, so we do have the option to search for an original application number, and that correlates to a divisional. The issue that we have is that we obviously don't have any divisionals in particular for the print. Yeah. So we don't have a particular divisional to search for because we have not received any yet, so that's a bit more complex. But we do have sort of an example wanting to show you, so just bear with me here one moment. So I just want to share. Okay. So here I have an example of if I was to be searching for an original application number, I would then show you in the search results, you would see the application number, and then when you see this little icon here on the just next to the number, that indicates that there's a divisional. It's a divisional, and so therefore, by clicking on this little icon, it'll bring up this window that we have, what's called original application number, and then by clicking on that, it'll bring you to the actual original filing in which this application was divided from. So this would be, for example, the details of a divisional, of original application number where there was a divisional derivative of it. So you'll see here, now that we no longer have the concept of associated marks, so what we've done is sort of replace a similar feature where it indicates the listing of divisional applications within the trademark details page. If there was more than one divisional that derives from this original application number, you would see the listing here. So if there was 20, you would see them here, so on and so forth. Okay. So I think that covers the divisionals. It's very straightforward in that respect. What I will do is go back. I do want to show you that you can print the application by selecting just the print feature. An example of what it could potentially look like would be, I don't actually want to print it, but I would like to show you. It's a bit slow here. Not quite sure. Oh, here it is. Oh, I have to save it. That's not going to work. It's a bit pokey on my side. And that's definitely our network that is a bit on the slower side right now. So, okay, for some reason that's a bit slower, but needless to say, we have added, I guess, some sort of functionality where it prints a bit nicer. The white space is been sort of addressed more so. I think there's still improvements that we need to make for sure on the pain points, but we definitely come a long way based on client feedback, suggestions, and so on.
There's less white space on the printout as well, so this is something that we've improved. So if we're printing the search at a details page, or if we're saving as PDF, so we have reduced the white space. So that was one of the pain points that was brought to our attention.
Definitely. So I'm just going to go back to the search results. So I'm not sure if there's any additional questions that we'll have, but we can definitely go through anything that you might bring up. It kind of, I think, ends kind of what we wanted to show you in terms of the look and feel of the new online database, and we're definitely hoping that you like it. Of course, we're always open to improving it now that we've gone with a new search engine. That helps us to make a more modern search engine, which helps us be able to apply additional features and functions as we move forward. And that's pretty much completes my portion.
Yep.
So what I'd like to do is just check so I see that there's a few questions that we'll go through after. So keep those questions coming on the chat. We will address them, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pass it over to Cléfandie Pierre-Louis, who's going to help us go through the new syntax changes that we have for the online database. So here I have, I'm just going to bring up here. I think I'm sharing my screen, so, okay. So, Cléfandie, take it away.
Thank you, Manon. So, as Manon was saying, in addition to the changes that we've implemented that were required to meet the new trademark law, we've also introduced new changes in terms of the user interface based on the feedback that we receive from clients. CIPO has taken the opportunity to actually proceed in replacing the search engine of the online database with a more powerful and faster engine, which is recognized and within the marketplace as being one of the leading search platforms in the industry. So by moving forward with this new platform, it will allow us to move forward in introducing in the near future more advanced and complex search functions. We're looking at introducing phonetic search, for example. This is one of the items that clients have told us that they would really appreciate seeing on the online database. And we're even looking at introducing some image recognition services. So with this new platform, what we had to do is that we needed to change some of the syntax to start aligning with other search, very popular search engine like Google. So what it means for you is that searching the trademark data through the database will be fairly the same except for some of the search syntax. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to walk you through what has changed and what is new, and then from there, if you have any questions, we may be able to answer them. So the first one is to search a single word within the database. So if you were to type just flame, for example, the result will be the same from the old database. So there's no change to how to enter that search criteria. What is new is the ability to search multi-words. So, for example, if you were to search a trademark called Flame and Design, by entering Flame and Design, you're actually searching all of the trademark that has the keyword flame and design together or separately. So it will just retrieve everything that has these two words into the trademark. The free search is something that existed before. So, for example, if you were searching goods and services, where your search words would be travel agency services, before you could just type this in and it will actually find all of the trademark that had this specific phrase. But right now, in order to do that, you need to put them into quotes. So it's just ensuring that you're retrieving the exact match in terms of the phrase that you're looking for in the database. The next page. We apologize.
It's coming. I think they can see it though, but
okay.
Okay.
So, so you're still able to perform a single character wildcard. So this is basically if you're looking for variation of a word where it's only a single character that may be different. So you're able to do that by putting the question mark within the word. If you're looking for multiple character wildcarding, this is where you would actually use the star. So so this is behaving the same as before, where, for example, if you were to put TE star T, it would actually be able to retrieve any words that had the word, any trademark that had the word test or text. The same thing for if you were to search TES star, it would be searching anything that would be ending with that word, so text, texting, text plural. What is also behaving the same is that you can put that star anywhere within the word. So you can put it at the beginning, at the end, or anywhere in the middle. What is, so in terms of searching phrase with wild cards, so that is still possible. The difference is that in order to search a specific string of words with the wildcards, you actually need to put them in quotes. Because if you're searching, for example, what is currently being presented here, so can star space ch star ter, what the system will do is that it will find all of the trademark that just have the can and all of the trademark that has the ch star ter. So if you're looking to search that specific sequence with the variation between the words, then you really need to put that into quotes. And the last item, which is a new item that's being introduced with the database, is to be able to search for fuzzy words, which is words or terms that are similar in spelling. So I provided an example. So, for example, if you were searching for current owner, where their last name would be Smith, but we're not sure how they were being how the name was spelled, then you can actually use variation of by putting the Smith with the tilde. You would actually be able to pick all of the variation of that word with spelling that is similar. So that covers the new syntax that is being introduced within database today.
And Kifanzi, I was wondering, would we be able to send out this document to participants?
Absolutely. So we do have this quick reference card in English and French, so we can send it to all of the people who are interested in attending the meeting today. And you can also contact the Client Service Center to get a copy of this document. And we will also be adding that information to the Canadian Trademarks help pages.
Perfect. Excellent.
Okay, so thank you, Kifanzi. I think we're going to move on the questions. I see that there's a lot of questions on the chat. So we'll start with the chat, and then we'll go from if there's any other question that I was not
covered,
yeah,
needs clarification and so on. Okay.
All right,
so I'm going to go right to the top. And it says, so the question is, the online filing of opposition documents is great. However, I do not understand why you do not allow us to file transcripts and undertakings online. Okay, so I think in terms of, that's more of an e-filing question, not necessarily related to the online database. So we'll make note of the question, and we'll definitely pass it on to our folks over at the opposition board for them to respond. The next question is, will we have access to all documents relating to an application/registration? So we know that that's a highly desirable feature. We are in the process of working on projects that will one day make this a reality. We are not there yet, but we are definitely, now that we have the coming into force changes sort of behind us, and as we move forward, it is something that we are considering and have on our radar for the future. So we definitely appreciate your patience and continued support on that. The next question is, we can no longer search for Canadian trademark using the registration number alone without putting TMA in front of it. Will this be changed back?
It is a bug.
It's a bug. Okay, so yes, this will be changed back. If it's happening now, if it's problematic, we will definitely be changing it back where you will not need to put the legislation in front of the registration number.
So just so you know, so we just released the database this morning, right? So if you're seeing things that were behaving before in a certain way and you're noticing things, it's really important that you call the Client Service Center to report it so that we can look at it and make sure that it's fixed.
Because we definitely, we think we did the best that we can in terms of finding things, but some things may not have been as obvious, and so therefore we certainly rely on our external clients' help to make this a really great search feature or search engine for the office and for you as well. Okay, so next question. For motion marks, I thought that the video should only show the motion once, and that the motion would not be on a repeating loop. The example that you just showed appears to have the motion on a repeating loop. We will show what the client submitted.
if you go back.
It only showed one.
Yeah, I think it was only one. I think you re-click it on play, but it should only display the video one time.
So if the client submitted it and it's a certain length, we will show the entire length. What I did was so if I click here, it's a 12-second video, so it won't just be one hop. It would be what the client submitted as a video, and that's what we've uploaded. So here we have the hopper because the client submitted a 12-second video. So at one point, whatever portion the client sent us stops, then it just ends there. I can re-click it to view it again and again, but that's pretty much the concept there. So I hope that answers that question. We can clarify a little bit more if we need to after. If divisional application C derives from divisional application B, which in turn is a derivative from original application A. Will I see both B and C as divisionals when I search for the original application A? The answer is you should, yes. So if you're not seeing that, for sure, let us know. But it should, the original application will always stay as the original, and then any derivatives from there will have a different sort of parent, or I guess it'll be like a sort of a grandchild and a child and so on and so forth. It's kind of how we refer to them internally to make sure that we understand sort of the lineage of the application, but it should show for both. Okay, the next question is, so it's a suggestion. So the suggestion is to push things like the disclaimer and the Vienna classes information down to the bottom of the results page instead of giving them prominence. At the top, people doing searches are much more interested in the goods and services coverage. Yeah, okay, that's a great suggestion.
Yeah, and I think we noticed as well that the disclaimer was at the top for some, mainly related to designs. We'll look at it. I don't think it was meant to be at the first one on the details page. We'll definitely look at it.
For sure. No, thank you for the suggestion, and we're definitely making note of that. The Save as PDF feature does not appear to be working. Will it be up soon? Did we?
Yes. So we noticed that this morning as well when it was released. So we're working on it. So our IT team is looking into it right now. So we can send you a communication when it's back on. I apologize for that.
Okay. The next question is. Oh, here, I missed one. Will all the divisionals B and C be automatically merged to the original application A, or do we need to explicitly request for a merge of the application? My understanding is that you will have to explicitly request to merge the applications. It's not automatic. I think there's some reasons behind that. Again, that's more of our sort of examination and policy side that has made the decision on why that would be that way. So I can't really go into much more detail about that. Okay. Disclaimer. Okay, so what will be the timeline for application/registration status updates on the new database? So again, it's still weekly at this time. We have been talking about, with the new technologies that we've been introducing, is to have the ability to potentially do daily updates. We're not there yet, but it is something that we are looking into for the future at some point. But currently, it will remain as a weekly update. The next question is, if you have a shortcut to the SQL database saved on your browser, it doesn't refresh and eventually stops working. I am using Chrome. Will this be fixed? So I would venture to say, since the database was updated just this morning and released this morning, I do not believe that anything has changed in terms of a refresh. Sometimes it gets changed because the hyperlink changes, but I would recommend every once in a while checking back to make sure that you have the most up-to-date link. It's not something that we can necessarily control for every user, depending on the browser that you're using. Okay, so but we can look at if there's anything we can do for that. We'll make note and check it out. Okay.
Yeah, or you can, for now, just resave a new shortcuts with the new database.
Right, just to make sure.
Make sure that you're using the right one.
Yeah. The next question is also, will there be an addition of the registration number in the summary of results? I just want to go back. Okay, so right now we have international registration number. I think one of the points, I think maybe the next release might account for that. I know there's something that was brought up at the stakeholder engagement sessions, was that the clients wanted to see a registration number once it was registered. because I think that's what primarily is, I guess, is used at the client level. Is that something that came up, Tiffany, in your stakeholder engagement?
Yes, it did. So right now, we needed to prioritize the fixes that needed to be done for us to actually meet the June 17 date. And with that, the registration date, the registration number did not, was not prioritized to be delivered at this time. But ultimately, we are looking at modernizing the entire search database with a brand new look and feel, and it will be part of that release once we're ready to do that.
Right. And I think my understanding is this is it's sort of a halfway in between what we had before and what we will have in the future. There'll be some new look and feel enhancements, but this is for the purpose of the release for the legislative project and to address some of the pain points that we had, right? Yep. Okay. So here the next question is, keep losing my spot here.
Does the search function?
Does the search function work both for Chrome and Internet Explorer? Yes.
Should.
The answer is yes. If you notice any anomalies, for sure report them to us through our Client Service Center, and then we'll address them. The next question is, in the e-registration facility, it used to be possible to sort applications due to the registered, by due date. The due date still appears, but there is no due date. Are the dates going to be made available? Okay, so again, I think we'll make note of that. That's a separate question because it's not related to the online database. So we will address that in a separate so we will be addressing the due date item, because basically the due date, I'm familiar a little bit with that, but what I want to say is that the due date doesn't appear for when you do the search all criteria, because any application that you have in there is registrable, so it is available to be registered. So the due date may return if we notice clients have more of a need for it, but we did need to remove it to address some issues where the 100 limit that we had was causing problems, because once certain items were appearing, then you were no longer able to see other results based on your search criteria. So again, that's the registration system, so I don't want to go too much into detail on that. It's just been brought to my attention that the Save as a PDF feature has come back, so I'll get back to the questions in 1 second, but I just wanted to show what it would look like. So here I have Save as a PDF. So here we have the PDF version to show you. Okay. So here's the feature of Save as a PDF. Okay. I'm just going to get back to the questions.
The Save as PDF, so that's what you just
So
covered.
just the Save as PDF feature does not appear to be working. It's up now, so we are fixed. Okay. Will the weekly updates still be on Wednesdays? Yes, the answer is yes. It will still be on Wednesdays. Can we pick the fields that we'd like to see in the summary of search results? Not at this time, but it is
The new system.
but the new system moving, like the next sort of release, that is something that's going to be looked at being an option. Okay. Will it be possible to export results into a table format with goods and services and classes info ready in an Excel or PDF format? Not at this time, but in the future, yes, that is another item on the list of features that we would have with the next release of the database. Will designs filed in color, filed prior to CIF appear in color on the database now? The answer is no. They will not appear in color unless they, unless they were, well, because they were converted to a black and white. If they're approved and they were filed pre-CIS, then we will have the color version appear, because that's what will appear in the journal.
Yeah, if it is advertised after June 17th, it will appear in the journal in color.
And on the online database.
Yeah, by default, it's on the online database as well.
Yeah. So not all of them, to answer your question, but any ones that will be appearing in the journal, the Trademarks Journal, after June 17th, will then by default appear in color on the online database. Why don't you expose fields like national correspondence for searching via the database? I'm not quite sure I have an answer to that question. I'll have to do a bit more research on that because I'm not quite sure what national correspondent personally is.
I believe it's for international applications, and no one has highlighted that as being one of their needs. So now that we know that there may be an interest for that,
yeah, we'll take a
note.
We'll take a note for sure.
Will we be able to access this presentation later? So we have recorded the session, so the idea would be that we will have it available at some point in a few days on the online on our online I guess SIPO site or SIPO YouTube channel. Oh, okay, and we'll email the link as well. Okay. Will the goods and services be updated if they have been revised example as a result of a response to the examiner's report? So again, the process is more for examination. So once the examiner reviews the goods and services, I think once they're accepted or they're acceptable as final, that's when the examiner would update them in our internal database, in which then would be disseminated here to the online database. That whole process I'm not super familiar with, but whatever we have in our internal database that's been entered and is sort of official will then be disseminated to the online database. Until such time, they're not disseminated, but so that seems to complete the list of questions that we have here in the chat. So I think, Guillaume, we can unmute the line and then open it up to see if there's any additional questions before we kind of...
The conference has been unmuted. Le mode discrétion a été enlevé de la conférence.
So,
is there any additional questions?
oh,